Indiana Jones, It's a podcast about Indiana Jones. Every movie, 1 minute at a time. Indiana Jones Minute.
Welcome back to the Indiana Jones Minute. This is the podcast where we get the film Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade in trouble 1 minute at a time. My name is Tom Taylor.
My name is Pete Mummert.
I'm Gerald Christopher Jr. Porter.
I'm Tasha Robinson, the film and TV editor at The Verge.
Welcome back, Tasha.
Oh, thank you guys for having me.
Yeah, I say welcome back. You joined us in the Temple of Doom. The last time we saw you, we were literally in the Temple of Doom. We were in some dark, scary cave, and our hero was being tortured, and it was terrible.
It was terrible for certain values of terrible. I mean, I enjoy seeing Harrison Ford doing his I'm in pain acting.
Yeah,
true. He does sad and tormented so well, and he does it so much in these movies.
That's true.
You get a little bit of that this week too, I think.
A little bit, but you also get him just super, super ticked off, which I love.
Yeah. It's great, and you get the best type of torture, mental.
Yeah, anguish, mental anguish.
Familial emotional torture.
Exactly. Mm-hmm.
Because really nobody can emotionally torture you like your family.
That's true.
Jerry comes close, but yeah.
Well, let's do this. This is minute 51 that we're chatting about. And minute 51 begins with Indy reminding Henry that he's been searching for the Grail for 40 years. And it ends with Henry realizing that his son is a dummy.
See, I love that Indy's dad has been searching for the Grail for 40 years because that's a very symbolic number for Christians. Right?
Uh-huh.
Like the Hebrews wandered the desert for 40 years, and Satan's temptation of Christ lasted 40 days in the desert, and God's flood with Noah lasted 40 days, and Pentecost occurred 40 days after Jesus' resurrection. So I'm wondering if it's actually been 40 years, or if that's just one of those symbolic things.
It's like the script for this movie was written like 1,000 years from now, and they're just saying, "Oh yes, and Henry studied for 40 years to find the Grail."
Exactly.
And it's been 40 years for the last 3 years.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a really good point.
Right.
I mean, I hadn't thought about that. Like, the first Indiana Jones movie, it was pretty clear that they did their research into kind of Christian mythology, sort of the archetypes that going like well beyond just it's a device and whatever, and it blows Nazis up. And here, I hadn't really thought about the symbolism, but the 40 days and 40 nights of the Bible is very much a recurring motif.
Oh yeah.
That's pretty good there, Jerry.
We bring up all these Christian nods, tip of the hats to Christianity,
On some
Jerry's
level,
afraid if he doesn't do it, a nun will wrap him across the knuckles.
It's true.
40 times.
Yeah, the 5 sorrowful mysteries or whatever.
40 times.
Memorize it, regurgitate it.
Usually when you say Christian nods, I'm imagining you in Sunday school kind of nodding off.
Oh, that sounds like a really good way to
Sunday
get ruler.
school. that was straight up in math.
Yeah.
A reading from the letter. I hope there's one of those long ones. One of those real long passages.
Those real cozy letters to the Corinthians. Wrap yourself up in it. 20 winks.
Just getting into the begats until you run out. That's good for like 20 minutes of nap time right there.
Oh, yeah, right.
So Henry tells Indy he wishes he could have been with him. And I'm curious, do you think he means he wishes he could have been with Indy, or do you just think he wishes he could have been there?
Oh, he wishes he could have been there. I think that's pretty clear. Like just before this, he just kind of asks him for a blow by blow. He's like, and you went to the place and you saw the thing and it said the thing that I thought it would be. And like, it's so clear from the moment that Indy shows up in this scene that his dad is, he's like an absent-minded professor. He's so much more concerned with the vase than with Indy's head. He's not really that surprised past the first second to see Indy out of nowhere, like in a strange place. And then he just immediately fast forwards into, yes, but the Grail. And I really think that he is not thinking about the family reunion here at all. He's thinking about the 40 years he spent not getting to see this thing that his son just got to see.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
The only thing that I agree with that completely, except for that one line that we just had at the end of the previous minute, was, Junior, you did it. Like, he's like actually kind of giving him some credit, and like he sounds kind of proud of him. But that's the only thing. Like everything else, you're right. It's just like, you know, you right now are a TV screen showing me, you know, Sir Richard and the shield and the inscription and everything. Like, you're not my son. You're just like reporting this stuff to me.
Your YouTube.
Well, also, I mean, as well as he knows his son, he might have been saying, I wish I could have been there so I could have saved all of these things from your destruction.
Right. I wish I could have cleaned up after your mess.
See, I had a different interpretation. I was wondering if he actually says, if only I could have been with you. And I'm wondering, maybe he's talking about the last 40 years.
Oh.
You know, watching this clip before I kind of did the research on the context, because when you sent me these minutes, I watched them before I went back and revisited this movie at all. That is what I thought. I thought that first line was kind of a, you know, I'm sorry I abandoned you, son. And then when I watched the whole scene, it's like, no, it's really, I was fine with abandoning you.
No.
I wish I'd been there when the thing was discovered. And it's so close to, if only I could have been there instead of you.
Yeah. It should have been me.
Yeah.
I think
It should have been me, son.
Well, what would that have been like if Indy's dad had actually been in the catacombs there? I mean, can we imagine that? He's not a field worm at all.
Well, they're
and he hates
like, how
rats.
would
There
that
were
have
rats.
even? Yeah, and I mean, just like I can't now seeing Indy's dad. I can't imagine him being there at all. He'd be like, there'd be fumbling and bumbling and dad and like, you know, all sorts of just sort of nonsense and rumpus making.
Well, do you think it took him
making.
40 years of study because he's not a field guy? And he's like, oh, one of these days I'm going to get out of my chair and I'm going to go try to find this thing.
Yeah.
I'm going to go to the library and find the catacombs.
Yeah, it's like,
I think he was way too busy with the rumpus making. I want to hear more about this rumpus making.
Yeah.
well, there was
Always
in
more
an
rumpus.
earlier draft of the script, there was going to be more rumpus. There was a draft where Henry sent Indy down as a kid to kill some rats in the basement. And this was going to come back here. But I like that they took that out. This is a moment where, you know, they hinted a much richer backstory rather than just telling us, you know, well, this is exactly what happened, or this is how the guy got out of the diagonal box on the train, or this is they kept it.
Oh, yeah. Oh. Thank you. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, he just says rats. There were rats, and that's it. He's like, oh, and then the music comes in, like, not rats. That's what the, you know, I think that's what a bassoon does. You hear the bassoon, it's like, not rats.
But then Indy says, yeah, big ones. What do the Nazis want with you, Dad? And to me, that seems fairly self-evident when I first hear it. But then I'm wondering, does the lack of communication they've had for 40 years, does that mean that Indy's actually wondering, like, is it possible you're working for them? Like, does he wonder exactly what they want from his dad?
I think he might wonder, like, what they want with a fussy old academic that is no longer up to rumpus making. Like, it's kind of, once again, like, why are the Nazis into this occult stuff? Like, why is this so important to them? Why do they think that you can get them there?
It's a weird, like, this, I'm so familiar with this movie. And I guess this happens with like anything, like Star Wars and stuff. Like when he says that line, "What do the Nazis want you for, Dad?" You're like, "Oh, wait a minute. He doesn't actually know." He's like, he got to this castle and everything without, like, he got to the castle not knowing that there were Nazis, and he was just following like Cosm's, like, you know, lead that he was at this castle and stuff. Like, we didn't know that there were. It's just weird that, like, you know, going into the movie, you know all this stuff. There's Nazis. His dad's taken by the Nazis and stuff. But here it's like, oh, they're still kind of putting it together, I guess.
Well, I have a problem with that. Maybe, again, I'm dumb with movies. I have to think back on watching what Donovan said and the whole thing at the beginning. Indy's like, you got the wrong Dr. Jones, Donovan. You know what I mean? And you're like, you're looking for my dad. And so he kind of doesn't, I mean, at this point, doesn't he know that they're searching for the Holy Grail?
Right.
His father is like the Grail expert in the world. You know, whatever, the Abner Ravenwood of Grail lore.
Yeah.
doesn't what I mean? Isn't it self-explanatory what the Nazis would want with them?
You know
at
what's
this
weird?
Point?
It seems like, and this happens a lot in like the next few minutes, I think. I think this line is actually just here. This is just occurring to me. I think this line is only here so that Henry can say, "Oh yeah, they want my diary." So it's a good thing I got it out of here.
Yeah.
I think you're right.
And it's sort of a weird moment because, like, the Nazis have him. Why do they want his diary? Like, from the moment that Indy shows up in this scene, it's very clear that Henry remembers all of the details of the steps that he came up with to get to the Grail. Why do the Nazis not have him, like, on a chair with thumb screws hanging off of, like, every protrusion on his body?
Yeah.
Instead, they put him in a room that's apparently full of fake antiquities, and they just, like, unless you talk, we are going to give you vases to identify, and some of them will be fake. Like, what kind of Nazi evil is that? Also, what kind of German accent is that? I don't even know.
Oh my God,
where that's coming from.
It worked on me.
We have ways of making you identify vases.
Me too, Tommy.
But seriously, what is he doing in that room? Like, he's not in a cell. He's in a room full of, I don't know, scrolls and vases.
Pete, I have a question for you. What is etched on the mantle behind
Ooh,
them?
I had the same question.
It says. Oh, I don't. I think I might have pointed it out a couple.
Tasha, I have a question for you.
No, it says. It says like Grunwald. It says Rudolf von Grunwald, and then like a date, either 1270 or 1470 or something like that.
Oh, is that what it is?
Oh, I thought there was a longer inscription. That's interesting.
I think it just looks. It's super long because it's in the Gothic script, so I think it.
Yeah, the kerning on that stuff is terrible.
You think he dedicated that fireplace in his own house?
Yeah. Yeah, or maybe, I have no idea, actually.
Wow, yeah. Looking back at it.
But I like how you tried to answer it anyway.
Maybe he just signed his work.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey,
well, I'm assuming it's his house, so it's, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's like in Monty Python and the Holy Grail, and like the bottom lintel of the wardrobe says "Arg." Like he took the time to carve all that in there just before he died.
Yeah.
But yeah, it does look like it's just a name and a date.
Yeah. I do like that. I do feel like this scene is really beautifully acted, and I love Indy's like very understated "yeahs." Like after his dad says something, he's like "yeah," and he kind of reaches for his pocket, but he doesn't. Like they don't make it over the top. Like it's really nicely done.
Right. You, like as a kid who's gotten in trouble before for doing something stupid, you recognize that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
Oh my God.
Oh, I wasn't supposed. Oh, okay.
That was my question. Have you guys ever been in that type of situation that Indy is in here, with the diary, where you've just totally done something completely ass backwards of the way that you should have? And it's that egregious, and you're sitting there, and it's like you can't have anyone find out.
I think it's very rare that I'm not in that situation.
Well, so do you just lie?
I mean, in this case, he almost turns to the camera, which is what I like to do. just turn slowly away from whoever you're talking to, and look for a camera you can look directly into. And he doesn't quite find it.
Right. He just hooks his finger into his collar.
Yeah.
Humana.
Fell doing this now.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, Jerry, you and I, my parents' basement is a testament to exactly this kind of stuff. Because I had like a really cheap Sears drum set with like these really skinny cymbals. And we had the awesome idea of just like hurling them across the room so they would sink into the drywall on the other side of the room. And my dad came down. He's like,
wait a minute. You got to start that whole thing again.
Why?
You said a Sears drum set.
It was a Sears drum set, Jerry. Yeah, it was really cheap. Sears and what?
No, it was those Chinese stars.
I'm getting to that. Damn it, that's the next one.
Oh, okay. I don't remember. All right, start it all again. I'll pretend.
Okay. I had this cheesy Sears that we're chucking the cymbals from the Sears and Roebuck chintzy drum set into the drywall, and my dad comes down. He's furious, and he's like, "What are you guys doing?" And Jared and I look at each other like, that was a really bad idea. Why are we doing that? What did we think was going to happen? That was really stupid. And then like maybe a day or a week later or something, we saw Jerry had these Chinese throwing stars. And we're like, oh, here, well, we don't want to throw it against anything that'll get hurt. So we'll put this cardboard, box in front of the freezer down in the basement, the big metal freezer, and we'll draw a goofy guy on it. We'll throw these Chinese throwing stars at the thing, and they go right through the box. Oh, that's crazy. That looks awesome. Wow, it looks like it went right through the guy's head. Oh, it also went right through the metal door of the freezer behind the thing.
Oh my God.
I go, I'm there like twice a year or something. I always see those grooves in the wall and that rusty, gross, dripping hole in the front of the freezer. And I think, yeah, we were dummies. But yeah, like our reaction to that was like, oh yeah, we're just being stupid. We're just stupid, Dad. Sorry.
More than anything, it reminds me of the moment at the end of, the moment toward the end of The Ring where the kid says, "You helped her?" And you realize that just like everything that's happened in the film, they've been working so hard to get to the wrong place. He's just like, yeah, about that. I am curious though whether, like, from his face, it sounds like we all had the same interpretation, where that he's just like, oh, crud. But in the script, it says, I knew I had to get that book as far away from me as I possibly could. Indy's hand moves unconsciously to his pocket. His eyes turn inward. It's like Indy's interest is a moment that it becomes important later, but for now it passes. And like, I don't even know what that means. He's interested. Like that's not how the scene plays out, I think, at all.
Yeah. No, he's like full Ralphie after he just like blurts out what he wants for Christmas to his mom.
Oh. Nope, shouldn't have done that.
Well, and then we get this Fantasy Island version of an SS officer who storms in the door with a couple of guys behind him. And he looks like
from Central Casting.
He's got the worst German accent. He's got like he looks like he's about 55. Like he's kind of someone's dad. Like he's this older guy, kind of like the guy on the truck. And it's It's a weird guy for this role, I feel like. Mm-hmm. But the costumes
stick around long.
are pretty amazing. I don't know which ones, but a lot of the Nazi outfits in the movie were not costumes at all. But Joanna Johnson, who was working with Anthony Powell, actually found them in Eastern Europe. She found authentic Nazi uniforms. So a lot of people in the movie were actually wearing real German army uniforms.
That's cool.
Oh, wow, that's crazy. What determines whether or not Indy puts his hands up in surrender?
Yeah.
Because, I mean, we see him in a lot of different harrowing situations, or situations where he's at the fuzzy end of the lollipop.
Right.
You know what I mean? Where you're like, how's he going to get out of it? And in this one, he just puts his hands straight up.
Yeah.
He's like, oh, yeah.
I
don't know. It's just interesting. I've seen him do it maybe once or twice before. That like in Temple of Doom, he does it. Like after he throws that rock at the guard, and then the guys, they come.
Yeah.
He just flatly surrenders.
I think here he's doing it entirely because they're setting up the very Marx Brothers gag that happens in a minute happens in a second, and it just looks better with both of them standing there in the same position side by side.
Yeah,
like he knows. Indy knows. He's got genre savvy, and he knows that this moment's going to work better if they're both standing there like that.
But I'm wondering if
he puts his hands up first, like even before his dad. He's not mimicking his dad. Like he leads the way in that.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
But I wonder if they're actually doing a bit here. Like I feel like this whole little scene feels so self-consciously acted between the two of them. I almost wonder if they're doing this intentionally.
I really want to think
at the
so.
Library at the university.
Like Henry would have. Yeah, like he'd have a faculty dinner, and he'd be like, "Okay, Junior, we're going to do our little game," and they get up there and they would do this kind of gag thing that they do, and because this whole thing feels very scripted between the two of them.
It feels very, very like it's made to appear in the preview for this movie. And I don't even remember if it does or not, but it seems like perfect for just like, Dr. Jones. Yes. Oh my gosh, it's you, Dr. Jones, in this movie. It's Indy and his dad. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Kind of thing.
It's also very Thor and Loki and like the get help moment. Like, this is...
Gosh, I was just thinking about that. That's funny.
This is a routine that we fall into. But I don't think that that's true. I really want it to be, because it escalates, like, to be Ron Burgundy about it, it escalates so quickly. But then at the end of it, Henry's like, what did you do? I can't believe what you did. He seems so astonished even when Indy throws the punch. And it's like, if maybe he was just expecting him to steal another library book. Like, that's how this always used to go. But he seems authentically astonished that it comes out the way it does.
Oh, totally.
One of the things that really feels like it's scripted is that they give this little smile to the Nazis, like, before they really escalate things. Like, kind of like, let's look like we're being nice to the guy, like while they're having their argument. It feels very sitcom-y. Yeah.
I'm usually the hard sell on this type of gag. This type of gimmick in these movies, you know what I mean? And I'm tough on the Indiana Jones stuff on this stuff, but I love this scene.
Yeah.
I think it's hilarious.
I do too.
It's pretty awesome.
Yeah, I pull it like, Dr. Jones, and they both go, yes.
Yeah.
I don't know. It just works. And I would be the first to say it shouldn't work. Or
Well, look,
don't do that. That's stupid.
I got raked over the coals for not liking the stupid librarian with his dumb, loud, punch that whatever.
As you should have been. Yes, as you should have been.
Oh, come on. That's stupid. But this is really good. I
was
love this.
with you with it. Yeah, this is. But see, I think, again, this is a testament to Sean Connery and Harrison Ford. They're just amazing in these scenes.
Yeah.
They kind of defy. I don't know what you would expect. Almost, you'd read this, you'd be like, "Oh, this might be silly and stupid."
Yeah.
Yeah.
But not at all.
It could easily have not worked. Like, what if his
it
dad
could
was like,
easily not work.
Yeah.
They pull it off in a very straight-faced way, but at the same time, like, this is a Mel Brooks gag. It's Mel Brooks, it's Marx Brothers, it's an airplane movie gag.
Yeah.
It's a Muppet movie gag.
But none of those is gonna work in Indiana Jones movie.
It works here, I think.
Does.
Except.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
And it works even better because they iterate it out one further with, I'm here to take the book, and they both say what book, and they're both lying so badly. Like, it's when they both say yes in response to Dr. Jones, like, they both mean it. They're both just responding. When they both say what book, they're just like a picture. They're like bookends of lying. They're bookends of terrible lying. Like, what book?
I love that because even though they grew up, like, they grew more and more distant as the years went by, they still kind of turned into the same guy. Like, they still, like, there's something about them that they're still, they react the same, they do the same things, they say the same words.
Oh yeah. I mean, I think one of the fun things about their father-son dynamic in this movie is that they're so irritated with each other, they're so impatient with each other, and it's so clear to the audience that it's because they're too much alike.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's true.
It's interesting that the Nazi points his gun at Indy's dad when he first comes in and says, Dr. Jones, but then he changes his mind and points the gun at Indy instead. And it's like, does he just figure out then that it's young Indy who has the diary? Because I guess Elsa, I don't told him maybe.
That's what I assumed, that Elsa told him. That's that it's like literally.
And then it's really weird. He points it back at Indy's dad and says to Indy's dad, "You have the Grail. You have the diary in your pocket."
He does?
That's why Indy's dad says, "You dolt."
No, he says that to Indy.
In the script, he says to Indy
that Indy has it in his pocket. Yeah.
And
Henry says, "You dolt." Of course, he doesn't have
it. Okay. Well, it's weird. If you look at it, he's looking at Indy's dad when he says that. He's not looking at Indy. Like, his gun is kind of pointed at who he's talking to or who he's addressing.
Yeah. I mean, that's only polite. You want to point your gun at the person you're talking to.
Yeah. He doesn't want to exclude anybody. He's got two guys to hold a gun on.
I do love this, how it slowly dawns on Henry, though, that his son really might be an idiot. Like, his son might be stupid.
Yeah.
Like, wait a minute, you didn't, did you?
Yeah, I love that repeated, like, you didn't, did you? You didn't bring it, did you? Like, he kind of builds on it a little bit.
Yeah, it's a little pause.
Like, okay. Yeah, like, you're not stupid, are you? You're not super, super stupid, are you?
Yeah, it's nice that they have their one little reunion moment of, hey, you went and did the thing, right? Oh my gosh, you're competent. Like, you did all this thing that I always wanted to do. And then from there, it immediately slides downhill into, oh, but you're a moron also.
Which is exactly like real family.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
You fall right back into old patterns.
Yeah.
It's making me wonder, would it ever work to have a revival of the Odd Couple with Sean Connery and Harrison Ford as Felix and Oscar? Would that ever work?
I would love to see it.
I do too. I want to see that. Well, I don't know. 51. Do we have anything else for 51?
I can't remember exactly where this cuts off. Do we get the Marx Brothers line in this one or the next one?
No, not yet.
That's beginning of next minute.
No, it's a crime. I hate it when this happens. Like it just breaks right in the middle of this awesome moment. But what are we gonna do? Minutes or minutes?
I still want to know. I want to know right now if Pete Mummert lies.
Yeah.
Like,
Because I asked you the other day if I was an asshole, and you just didn't respond to me.
You said if anybody has ever texted with Jerry, you know that what he says in his head in the text is not what is actually written in the text. So he actually wrote to me, I'm an asshole. And there was no punctuation. There was no question mark after.
Like,
so
yep.
I was like, okay, sure.
I mean, you're lucky it was that coherent. It could have been like, avocado.
And then,
Pete,
I usually
avocado?
get with spell check anyway.
but then I clarified, and then I clarified, and I didn't hear back from you for a week. I still haven't.
He's formulating his answer. Don't worry.
Okay,
Don't
so
rush
here's
him.
a random observation. In the shot where they both got their hands up, you can see that Henry has his bag packed and his umbrella on top of it. Like when Indy shows up and he's just like, okay, of course we're going. Like, what does it mean that he's kept his bag packed and it's like he's just awaiting rescue? He apparently thought that Indy would figure out the clues, and he's just sort of been like waiting, like with his bag sitting in the corner this whole time with his umbrella on it, which just
I wonder
cracks
what's
me
even
up.
in his bag. Like, is it just his like papers and stuff and things and the bag from his lunch from 5 days
That's a
ago
really
or
good
something?
question.
Or-
Yeah.
We're going to imprison you, but not take away any of
Yeah.
your stuff.
Yeah.
We're not going to rifle through it, like looking for your papers.
Or just-
Maybe it's an empty valise. He's just hanging on to it. It's his comfort valise.
Yeah, comfort release. Is it just a bunch of like Grail paintings? I mean, I feel like, what do we know about the guy? You're like, okay, he dries his socks out,
Yeah.
and then he collects.
We know he doesn't like rats.
Yeah, we
that's
know
true.
he doesn't like rats, so
Yeah.
we know there's not a rat in there.
Maybe it's just rat traps.
It's just
in there.
rat traps. And then you're like, and he has Grail paintings, and he sketches stuff himself.
Yeah. I want it to be full of Matchbox cars. He just has a little valise full of Matchbox cars he carries with him.
I'm wondering if it's maybe one of those old person senile things where he just packs every morning and he thinks his family is coming to pick him up and take him back home.
Oh, oh, that's
My
tragic.
son's going to rescue me from the Nazis today.
Jerry, to answer your question that I wasn't sure was a question.
You are a huge avocado.
Oh, wait a minute.
Yeah?
Something's coming in over the wire.
Oh, Saved by the Bell.
This just in from Professor Christy Porter. Is Castle Brunwald the centralized office of Nazi treasure hunters?
Yes.
I don't get it.
They did have a centralized
did,
office
right?
of Nazi treasure hunters. The SS Himmler
Yeah,
did.
that's
Yeah,
right.
Himmler had a whole group of people, the Ahnenerbe, who were sent all over the world to try to track down kind of occult treasures that they thought would make them powerful.
Yeah. Oh, so what else would they be looking for? I mean, we checked out this. So you lost on the Ark of the
Yeah,
Covenant.
that was a bust.
This one's still up in the air. I don't know what else you get.
The lance that
Come on, haven't you seen
the
the
Holy Lance.
Have you seen the Hellboy movies?
Oh, yeah, but I forget what the deal is.
Well, among other things, they were summoning up demons like Hellboy.
Oh, yeah.
And a lot of nonsense, putting brains into monsters, great fun, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Is that you were
Yeah.
talking about, Pete? Is that the Spear of Destiny?
Yeah, they were looking.
what that is?
Yeah, and they got that, and then now it's in Vienna. But I think they actually had possession of that for a while.
Really?
Yeah, during the war. Yeah.
Does it have superpowers?
Well, I guess history seems to indicate otherwise.
I guess so.
Yeah.
It was supposed
Weren't they
to.
also
Pretty
experimenting with like telepathy, psychic powers, that kind of thing, to see
Yeah.
if they could be utilized in the war? I don't know if that's the same department as the department that looks for the Holy Grail, or it's a bunch of different departments fighting for funding and all hating each other.
Yeah, yeah. But they did
you
actually
mean-
have archaeologists and stuff that they sent all over the world.
Yeah. You collect Noah's Ark and you can just float forever.
Yeah.
All we have to do is flood the world.
No
Flood the
matter
world,
what.
pack all the Nazis into the Ark.
Yeah. With a bunch of giraffes and elephants.
And all of the little Aryans coming 2 by 2. I guess it's not that hard finding like matched mates for the Aryans, because they're all so handsome.
That's true.
Handsome and perfect. Just line them up and say, all right, you guys are all mating with each other.
Yeah. Deal with it.
When your Nazi that you guys are talking about like comes storming into the room with his gun, I think it's interesting that he's kind of shot from below, just enough to get the kind of flashlight under the chin effect.
Oh,
to
yeah.
make him look a little more
Yeah.
ominous.
Yeah.
Like the lighting in this entire scene is really pretty interesting, with the lights coming in from the windows, and then this like one really bright desk light that kind of gives you the spotlight in the face of somebody being interrogated kind of effect, and it casts these really sharp shadows on the walls.
Yeah.
As we're kind of going back and forth in between different characters, we keep kind of seeing the shadows on the walls behind them. It's very stark.
And there's some lighting coming up in 2 minutes that I think could have made this movie go in a different direction that I think would have been fascinating too. I think the lighting in this whole scene is really fascinating.
2 minutes is like a million years from now.
I know, really.
Hopefully you'll still be with us here, Tasha.
I don't know. That seems like a long time to hang around.
Feels like it might be a Wednesday.
Really.
Is 2 minutes from now a Wednesday?
I'll do my best to hang around.
All right.
Please do. But yeah, before we all disperse, do you want to tell people where they can find you in the world and online and your writings and everything?
Sure. Like I said, I'm the film and TV editor at theverge.com, which is a Vox Media site. You can find my writing there, and you can find a lot of people who write for me there. I'm on Twitter at Tasha Robinson, and I'm also a podcaster with the Next Picture Show podcast, which every 2 weeks takes a current movie and looks at how it was influenced by a past movie and what the two films have to say about each other.
Well, I say that everybody go check that out. And I also say everybody come back here tomorrow. But before you do that, in the meantime, you should go over to find us on Facebook. Find our listeners group, Indiana Jones Minute and the Listeners Crusade, where you can you don't have to wait for us tomorrow. You can just keep talking Indiana Jones over there with all your Indiana Jones Minute buddies, including us. And it's a good time. But come back here tomorrow for minute 52 of Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade here on the Indiana Jones Minute.
I call a Connery off. Possibly could. Tommy, throw down.
Pushy.
This minute he has like one of the biggest ones of those, as I possibly could.
Well, I still like, inscription. The inscription on his shield? Dad, what's an inscription?